If you want to launch your UX design portfolio into an epic, responsive website, this tutorial is for you. You'll learn how to bring your design into Figma, make your website responsive and interactive, and publish it to your custom domain. Figma is my favorite tool for designing and launching portfolio website because it's easy to use, powerful, and built for designers. So thank you Figma for sponsoring today's video. Click the link in the description to get started. If you haven't designed your portfolio homepage or case studies, I also have dedicated videos on those. I'll link them here and also in the description. Let us start by bringing your design to development. If you design directly in Figma design pages, select your homepage frame, right-click, and choose Create Web Page. Then rename the page to Home. After that, right-click the page again and select Set as Homepage. You can now delete the old default homepage. And next, do the same thing for each of your case study page. Go back to your Figma design pages, select your case study frame, right-click, and choose Create Web Page. Then rename it to your case study title. And that's it for now. If your design is in Figma, I will show you how to use a plugin to bring your design into Figma. First, go to Figma and create a new project by clicking the button on the top right. Choose Blank Canvas, and then rename your project at the top. Next, go to Figma and select your homepage frame. On the bottom right, click Actions and search for Figma. You'll see a plugin called Figma to HTML with Figma. Select it, and then copy to clipboard. Now go back to Figma, select your homepage frame, and paste your design using Command-V or Control-V. Most of the time, the plugin will bring over the majority of your design correctly, but you will probably still need to make a few adjustments to make sure everything displays properly. Here I'm changing the height from fixed to fit content so the entire design becomes visible. And if certain colors, background, spacing, or details look slightly off, now is a good time to clean them up before we move into responsive design. Now that you have your homepage set up, we also need to add your case study pages. Go to the left sidebar, create a new page, and rename it to your case study title. Then repeat the same process. Go back to Figma, select your case study frame, use the plugin to copy everything, and paste it to the new case study frame in Figma. If you have multiple case studies, repeat this step for each one. Now it is your turn. Pause the video and bring your design into development. Next, we need to make our website responsive. And this is the hardest part of the entire process. So please be patient and turn on your engineering brain. And if you don't have an engineering brain, that's okay. I'll help you install one, as long as you don't skip this chapter or speed up my video. If you preview the site by clicking the play button here and then drag the edge to different width, you'll see that your site is not responsive. The content gets chopped off and it sucks. And we will fix that. And you have to design for responsiveness because your client might be using a huge monitor or a phone or a huge monitor with a tiny browser. You just never know. Let's go to your homepage first. Select your frame and on the top right, click breakpoint. Then add a tablet breakpoint. Then click the plus icon again and add a phone breakpoint. And if you zoom out, you should see 3 different frames. The first frame is your desktop breakpoint. And in Figma, this is your primary breakpoint. Changes you make here will cascade down into smaller breakpoints like tablet and mobile, unless you override them there. And visually, the desktop breakpoint also defines the layout for browser width of 1200 pixels and above. So if you want to adjust how your design looks on the monitor, you will still make those changes inside the desktop breakpoint. The tablet breakpoint controls everything from 810 to 1199 pixels in browser width. If you make any changes on tablet, those changes will only apply to the tablet breakpoint. The phone breakpoint controls everything below 810 pixels. Changes you make on phone breakpoint only affect the phone breakpoint. So the overall idea is start from the biggest breakpoint and work your way down. Make your desktop version as responsive as possible before moving to the smaller breakpoints. If it's still confusing, don't worry. Set up the breakpoint first and you will learn everything step by step. To make your website responsive, you need to build multiple layers of frames and stacks. A frame is like a container. It is not smart. It can hold content, create a boundary, add a background, hide overflow, or define a section area. A frame in Figma is represented by this square icon. A stack is a smart frame. It's like auto layout in Figma. It can automatically arrange elements, control the gap between elements, and help your design respond when the screen size changes. And a stack is represented by an icon with 2 rectangles. To create a stack, select the elements you want to organize. Right-click and choose Add Stack. Then you can change the stack size and layout in the right side panel. You can adjust things like its width, height, direction, gap, alignment, and whether you want the elements to wrap into multiple lines. And here is where things get more complex. Your page is not just one stack. You will have stacks within stacks within stacks. It's multiple layers of stacks and frames, and that make responsive design complicated. And you need to understand this parent-child relationship between different layers. In Framer, go to the left side and click the Layers tab. This is where you can see all your layers in your design. A parent layer is the outer container that holds other elements inside it. A child layer is any element that lives inside that parent layer, and a child layer is indented to the right under its parent. Take a guess. Can one layer be both a parent and a child? The answer is yes, it can. A layer can be a child of a larger layer while also being a parent to smaller layers inside it, just like your mom. If you have a page stack, and inside it you have a hero section, the page stack is the parent and the hero section is the child. But the hero section is also a parent to the elements inside it. And I'm teaching you this first because most responsive problems come from the parent layer being set up incorrectly. And now that you understand parent and child layers, let's learn the different ways to set elements width and height. Really, really important, so do not skip this. In Framer, sizing is always related to the parent layer. So before you start fixing the child element, adjust the parent first. If the parent layer is set up with the wrong width or height, the child layer will break no matter what you do. Now let's go through the main width and height settings. Fixed means the layer stays at a specific pixel size no matter how the browser changes. Fixed can be useful for small things like icons, but for most elements, you don't want to set its width or height to fixed because fixed is not responsive. Relative means the layer size adjusts based on percentage of its parent size. This is one of the most commonly used settings, especially for width. For example, if I have a full width section, and inside it, I set the content frame to 80% width, then that content frame will take up 80% of the section's width. So when the browser gets wider or narrower, the content frame will resize with it. Next is fill. I like to use fill for situations similar to dividing pizza slices. It works especially well for stacks with multiple columns or rows. Let's say you have 2 columns. If both widths are set to 1 fraction fill, they will divide the space evenly. And you can also set a column to 2 fractions and then the other to 1 fraction. And then the first column will take up twice as much the space than the second, like this. And if you only have 1 column inside the stack and set it to 1 fraction fill, that is the same as setting it to 100% relative. It just fills up the parent width. Next, we have fit content. Fit content means the layer becomes as large as it needs to be based on the content inside it. This is especially useful for height. If a text box wraps into multiple lines on a smaller screen, setting both the text layer and its parent layers to fit content height helps the layout grow taller naturally without cutting off the text. Next, we have viewport, and it's only available for the height setting. It means the height is based on the browser height. For example, 100 VH viewport height means the section takes up 100% of the browser height. 80 VH means it takes up 80% of the browser height. And this may come in handy for your hero section or full screen visual sections. And the draggable viewport button you see on the frame is just a way to preview how your design looks at different screen height. It is not the actual setting itself. You want to input a number to set this up. There is another thing we can do, and that is clicking the plus icon beside the size setting on the top right. And here, you can add settings for maximum width, maximum height, and minimum height. The one I use most often is maximum width. For example, inside the full width section, let's say I set a content stack to 80% relative width. That works well for responsiveness, but on a huge monitor, 80% can become way too wide and hard to read. So I can add a maximum width to the inner content stack, so the content resizes with the browser but stops growing after a certain point. We talked about 6 different settings, and here is a good rule of thumb. For most layers, set the width to relative and the height to fit content, and start from outer parent layers first, then work your way into child layers. That's it. Good luck. You already learned the hard part, and this part is pretty intuitive. You learn how to use the position settings in Framer. Position controls where a layer sits inside its parent layer. You can pin a layer to the top, left, right, or bottom. For most responsive layout, if your element already has a relative width and it is centered, then you just need a top constraint. Position type controls how the layer behaves. Most normal elements can stay as absolute. If you want something to stay on the screen while people scroll, like a top navigation bar, then you can use fixed. And that's basically it. Stacks controls how things are arranged, sizing controls how big something is, and position controls where they stay. Now let's put everything we learned together and walk through how I set up a website for responsiveness. There is no single correct answer here, but this structure works pretty well, so feel free to borrow it. On the outmost level, the parent of all parent, I have one big stack that holds all the sections. And this stack is separate from the top navigation. The top navigation is its own stack fixed at the top. The main big stack and each section inside set to 100% relative width and fit content height. Each section represents one big area of the website, like the hero section, project section, or closing section. And I set these sections to 100% width because some sections may have a background image, animation, or color that need to stretch across the full page. And I want to make sure it fills up the entire page regardless what's inside it and how big is the viewer's monitor screen. Then inside each full width section, I have an inner content frame or stack. And this is the layer that holds the text, images, buttons, and project cards. This is also where I set a relative width and a max width, so the content can resize with the browser but won't stretch too wide on a large monitor. And for the phone breakpoint, I override the relative width to make it a bit bigger. This gives the content more room on small screens, so it doesn't look too narrow or squeezed. For height, most section and content layers are set to fit content, so the page can grow naturally based on everything inside it. For spacing, each stack has a gap value. I like to set the gap to the most common spacing I need in that stack, like 20, 40, or 80 pixels. If one specific element needs more breathing room, which happens really often, I don't change the whole stack gap, I just add extra padding to that specific element. If a section has both vertical and horizontal layouts, I don't create just one giant stack because that won't work. I create smaller stacks first, then I put those smaller stacks into a parent stack. For example, if I have multiple business metrics, each metric is its own vertical stack, and those multiple metric stacks can sit inside one horizontal stack. For visuals like thumbnails or mockups, if I want to keep the same width and height ratio, I can lock the aspect ratio. This way, the image can resize without getting squeezed. After the desktop version is responsive, I check tablet and phone. On smaller breakpoints, I may reduce font sizes for some text. I may increase the content width percentage. I may simplify the navigation or change horizontal layouts into vertical layouts for some sections. Finally, I preview the site and drag the browser wider and smaller. And if everything responds well, great news, this page is done. And by the way, you need to repeat the same process for each case study page too. So take a deep breath, go ahead and have fun. It is your turn to make each page of your site responsive. Now that your website is fully responsive, let's take it one step further and make it interactive, starting with making all the links and buttons work. To add a link to text, select the text, go to the top right, and add your link beside Link To. If you want to change how your links look, go to Style, hover over Link, and click Edit. Here you can customize the link style, like adding an underline under the decoration setting. Just as a reminder, changing the link style will update all the link using the same link style. The process of making your button work is similar. Select your button stack. Go to the right side panel and add a link beside Link To. Paste in your URL. And this already makes your button functional, but let's take it one step further. Scroll down to Effects and add a hover effect. You can scale the button up a little bit or keep it at the same size. Then change its fill color a little bit. Now when you preview your design and hover over the button, the color changes slightly, and this makes the button feel more interactive. And if you click it, it takes you to the right place. Now it is your turn to set up your links and buttons. And this next part is really fun. We're going to add effects to your elements so the website feels more polished and expensive. But here's a quick warning. Don't go too crazy, okay? I'm saying this because the first time I discovered that I can add effects to my website, I overdid it. And suddenly my website started to look like a bad PowerPoint. And I think you know what I mean. So let's don't take it too far. A good effect should feel subtle, and it should guide attention, make the page feel smoother, or create one small delightful moment. To add an effect, select the element you want to animate. You can also select an entire section if that makes more sense. Then go to the right side panel, find Effects, click the plus icon, and add an effect. Most of the time, you just need an appear effect. This makes the element animate when it appears. But pay attention to the trigger. If it is set to unappear, the animation starts when the page loads. So it works great for elements near the top of the page, but for elements lower down, use layer in view or section in view instead, so the animation happens when people actually scroll to that part. And remember that movement draws attention. So add effects to things you want people to notice, remember, or click on. For example, in this project thumbnail, I made different UI elements slide in from different directions, and it draws attention to the project interface and it makes the preview feel more dynamic. And here's another example that's a little fancier. I added a hover effect, so when someone hovers over this website preview, the page scrolls up a little bit. And I used a frame to crop a much longer frame inside it. Then I added a hover effect to the inner longer frame and set its Y offset so it moves up. There are so many fun ways to use effects in Framer, and now it is your turn to experiment. This next part can instantly make your portfolio feel more unique and memorable. We are going to add a custom cursor. First, design your cursor in Framer. I'm going to keep mine very simple and just use a small dot. Make sure the design is inside a transparent frame. Then select the frame layer, right-click, and choose Create Component. You can name it something like Custom Cursor. Then Framer will take you to the component page, and you actually don't need to do anything here. So just go to the top left and go back to your website page. Now select the page frame. Go to the right side panel, scroll down to Cursor. Click the plus icon, and choose your custom cursor component. There are two main options, Replace and Follow. Replace means your cursor will be replaced by the custom cursor. Follow means your typical cursor will stay and the custom cursor follows behind it. And for follow, I like to add a spring transition so the cursor follows a little bit more smoothly and it makes the interaction feel more polished and more expensive. You can also use different cursors for different areas. Like when someone hovers over a project card, the cursor could say View Project or Open. It's a small detail, but it makes your portfolio feel very interactive and more impressive. Now it is your turn. Make your own cursor. We're almost at the end, and this next part requires a little more writing and design work, but it is extremely important because it affects how your website appears in search results and social media previews and the browser tab. Go to the Pages tab. Right-click on your homepage and choose Settings. On the left side, you'll see two sections, Site Settings and Page Settings. Let's start with Site Settings. Under General, add a title and description for your website. This is your website metadata. It helps search engines and AI tools to understand what your website is about. A good title and description should briefly explain your work and include important keywords naturally. And yes, you can use AI tools like ChatGPT or Cloud to help you write this. On the right side, Framer will show a live preview so you can see how your site may appear in search results. I really like this preview. Next, scroll down to the favicon section. A favicon is a small icon shown in the browser tab. Design and upload two 64x64 favicon, one for light mode and one for dark mode. Then you will see the social preview image section. The recommended size is 1200 by 630 pixels. This image appears when someone shares your website on social media or messaging apps. Think of it like the thumbnail for your website. Next, Framer also includes an Apple Touch icon. This is used if someone saved your website to their phone home screen. You can just make your favicon bigger for this. Once set setting is done, remember to click Save on the top right. Next, let's go to Page Settings. Your homepage can share similar settings with your general site settings, but your case studies need their own settings. So for each case study, write a clear page title, description, set a clean URL, and add its own social preview image. Once everything is done, don't forget to click Save, and your website metadata setup is done. Now it is your turn. And finally, it is time to publish your website. We're still inside the page settings area. Now let's go to the second tab called Domains. If this is your first portfolio website and you don't have the budget for a custom domain yet, choose the first option. Framer gives you a free subdomain. Just type in your name. If it's not available, try something similar, publish the site, and your portfolio is officially live on the internet. And if you're seriously applying for jobs, freelancing, or building a professional personal brand, then I highly recommend getting a custom domain. It immediately makes your portfolio feel more polished, more professional, and is pretty much an industry standard. Choose the second option if you don't have a custom domain yet and want to get it through Framer. Choose the third option if you already own a domain from another provider like GoDaddy and want to connect it to Framer. Then follow the setup instructions Framer gives you. It may look technical at first, but honestly, if you stay calm and read carefully, most of the process is just copying and pasting a few strings. And after that, click Publish on the top right. It may take a few minutes, but soon your portfolio website will officially be live in your custom domain and on the internet. Huge congratulations! You should be so proud of yourself for coming this far. And now it is your turn. If you enjoyed this video and want to watch more content about design tech and business, make sure to subscribe and turn on all notifications. My name is Aliena. If you want me to help you get a well-paid product design role in tech, check out my Figma Trusted Bootcamp, Fast Track UX. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck with your portfolio, and I will see you in the next one here. Bye! Means the layer stays at the... Replace means your normal cursor. Replace means your normal... Replace means your normal. Okay. Replace means your normal cursor will your normal